Hi, class. It's Dr. Kelly. Hope you're doing well. It's the Tuesday after Labor Day, September 7th, 2021. It's supposed to be kind of a nice week in Texas, or at least where I am in Texas. Air's supposed to be drier. Thank God. There aren't any hurricanes out in the Gulf lurking, although that could change in a heartbeat. So let's all knock on wood. I don't want to jinx us. I hope you all had a decent Labor Day weekend, got some rest maybe. I know many of you work, many of you have children, many of you work and have children, but still, I hope you got some rest in. This week actually is a pretty easy week in terms of assignments. You don't have any reading this week, in other words. So I'm giving you a little break. I'm a big believer in starting off the semester with a bang and getting students going and reading and working hard at the beginning. And then, by about the third, fourth week, give you a little bit of a breather, and then we start up again pretty intensely. So anyway, so it's a fairly easy week in this class. There's a module. There's not reading. You'll be quizzed next week, next Tuesday as usual. So hope you're doing well. Oh, by the way, I don't know if anybody in the class is Jewish or has Jewish friends or relatives, but last night was the first night of the Jewish New Year, 5782. I know that because my wife and son are Jewish. I'll be in the temple later today with them. Next week is Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah is the Jewish New Year. It's 5782. That is a big number, 5782. The Jewish religion, as you know, goes all the way back to the Egyptians, to the Babylonians. Anyway, incredible. As a historian, it just blows my mind. 5782. And then next week is Yom Kippur, which is all about trying to be forgiven for your sins. But anyway, I just wanted to wish you all a happy New Year. It's never a bad thing to wish anybody a happy New Year, even if you're not Jewish. And I hope you have a great 5782, even if you're not Jewish. So my best, and if you are, a special good wishes. Now, what I've got in front of me or on the screen rather, is the map of Texas in 2021. I love the shape of Texas. I think it's really iconic. Think about how often you see the shape of Texas on a daily basis, many times. I mean, it's just a great shape of a state. Now, one of the things you're going to learn about in this course is how Texas gained its shape. You're going to learn about how the Rio Grande became the southern border, and the Sabine and the Red River, the north, the border with New Mexico and Oklahoma. The border of Texas is not a given. In the period that we're talking about, the Spanish and the Mexicans in Mexico City, where Texas was really ruled from in North America, they didn't have this sense of Texas in any way, shape, or form. The Texas that you're looking at in front of you, if you have a screen, the iconic shape of Texas, the one that you see so often, it is a creation of war and conquest. It came into existence in 1848, 1850, that area of that time period during the US time period. And the Spanish just had a very, very different in their minds sense of what Texas looked like. And of course, the native peoples here, especially the Cherokee, the Cherokee we'll talk about later. We're mostly talking about the Comanche now. The Apache, the other Indian groups, the Karankawa, the Caddo, who were earlier in Texas history, they had no shape of Texas either, in the sense of a geographical shape. They had mental maps of their territory, like the Comancheria, which I talked about last week, but they had no sense of Texas as you're looking at it now, as we understand Texas today. So what you're looking at today, the creation of the shape of Texas, there's a very interesting history surrounding that. It's really a history about power and who has power, who wins conquest, who loses. And so I want you to get that in your mind. And then I'm going to share another, screen. You get to look at me. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, here's what I want to do. I want to share this. I want to go here. Okay, this is the shape of Texas as the Spanish saw it. Now, I've put this same map on the module so you can take a look at it. And this is what I want to stress at the beginning of the lecture today. This green blob that goes from kind of west of San Antonio, south of San Antonio, kind of bleeds into Louisiana a little bit. This is how the Spanish and the Mexicans saw Texas, not the magnificent shape that we know today. This was Texas, this green area that's on the map, from the point of view of Mexico City and from the point of view of Madrid. Okay, so south of this green area, south of the Nueces River, is what was called Nuevo Santander, and now it's the Mexican state of Tamaulipas. And then west of the green blob, going into what is now Texas, is the Spanish colonial territory of Coahuila, and later the Mexican state of Coahuila. So Texas had a completely different shape, much smaller than the Texas that we know today. The Big Bend area wasn't part of Texas. El Paso wasn't part of Texas. Abilene, Midland, even Dallas. They were not part of Mexican Texas and Spanish Texas. Maybe Dallas kind of flirted with Dallas, but mostly it was the coastal area inland, about 200 250 miles from the Gulf of Mexico. Now, one of the things that I want to stress in this class, and this you should, when I say something like this, you'll be quizzed on it, so be aware. From the Spanish point of view and from the Mexican point of view, the southern border of Tejas, which they called it, or the northern border of Nuevo Santander, but just for ease, let's just say the border of Texas was the Nueces River, which is the river that goes through Corpus Christi. Okay, so write that down. That's something that I want you to know. You'll be tested on it. You just have to memorize it, okay? And there will be a war fought between the United States and Mexico in 1848 about whether the Nueces would be the border of Texas or the Rio Grande. And of course, the United States defeated Mexico and the Rio Grande became the border, okay? So, but in the period that we're talking about, the Spanish Texas, and then later for the brief period between 1821 and 1836, Mexican Texas, this is how Texas was seen from Mexico City. This is how Texas was seen as from Madrid. Okay, a very different conception of Texas than we have today. And in this course, I'll explain how we got the borders that we got in Texas. So, like I say, and this is the last point I'm going to make in this intro podcast, the map of Texas that we have today, there's a very interesting history behind it. It's really a history of power and of conquest. The Spanish didn't see Texas this way. The Mexicans didn't see Texas this way. It was a very, very different kind of formulation. And the native peoples in this area, especially the all-powerful Comanche who dominated this area, they would never have recognized the shape of Texas. The Comanches had the Comancheria, and you saw that last week, I hope. They did their own thing because the Comanches, up until the 1830s, 1840s, they're actually the most powerful force in what today is Texas. Okay, so just to repeat, and you might have noticed I repeat a lot, but I'm a big believer that repetition is a good way to help students learn. Shape of Texas, very different. The shape that we have today has a very interesting story, which you'll learn about in this class.